Shut up! I'll listen to the songs.
Hello and welcome to the end of year roundup from Shut Up and Listen to the Songs with me, Ben Wilson. Before we get started, let's go outside and enjoy the garden on this lovely fresh day. We'll take our coffees with us and just listen to the sounds. Oh, that's nice. So, it's the end of 2025. How did that happen so quickly? It feels like it's gone in the blink of an eye, and I know people say that, as you get older, time seems to go quicker. And so not only has this absolutely flown by, but we've also reached the first quarter of the century, which gives quite scary flashbacks to the turn of the millennium. It makes me really wonder where we're going to be in 25 years' time. But for this episode, I thought I'd just do a really quick, swift roundup of some things that have happened in the world of music this year, expand upon a couple of things, and maybe look forward to a couple of things next year. So in no particular order, we've got the continuing trend of bands never dying. We saw Pulp come back this year. They had a brilliant new album and they toured it brilliantly. Everyone fell in love with them all over again, old fans, new fans. It was wonderful. They're playing festivals next year. It should be really great. Oasis came back, and after much of a debacle about their ticketing, when we got to hear the music, everybody was more than pleased, which was nice. I'm sure they'll be around. Maybe not next year, but they're not going to go away. And then just when we thought we'd have a nice quiet end to the year, Radiohead announced that they were going to come back just for a little tour, just to remind everybody how incredibly brilliant they were. And of course, their ticketing was nice and civilised. It was a ballot. You could only register based on where you were located. And they thought they'd mix it up by doing it in the round, which was pretty interesting. Maybe I'll elaborate that more another time. So, I mean, who is there left to see live next year? Which bands are going to reform and treat us all? I guess we'll just have to find out. There's no Glastonbury next year, which is something that I'm not actually that disappointed about. It takes up quite a lot of energy and oxygen, and I'm sure that the Eves family will enjoy their I wouldn't say it's a rest, because I'm sure they're planning and working hard, but I'm sure it'll be a nice breather for them. So that's great. In other news, the trend, or I should say the emergence of AI generated music continues to grow, and it went somewhat overground this year with the emergence of some quote unquote bands that were racking up huge numbers on various streaming platforms. They would have their own aesthetic and name, and to all intents purposes, if you weren't told it was AI, it would have fooled a lot of people. And so it's quite interesting to see how this is developing, because there's two broad types. You've got people who are generating AI music and then uploading it themselves so that they can coin the streaming revenues off that. But also you're seeing quite a lot of streaming services create their own content that is basically used as filler for the long and expansive playlists that they have. And it's pretty disconcerting. And I haven't heard any of this music. I haven't gone out of my way to do that. Whenever you see a news story about this, there's always a spike in interest of people kind of going to see if it's any good. And I deliberately resist that, because I think the more that you deliberately expose yourself to such content, the more you normalize it and the more you kind of accept it, which I really don't want to do. However, I had an interesting experience the other week where I was at a works Christmas do, and after a few pints down, I was talking to a colleague, and there was this really very generic kind of club bar music that when I Shazammed it, I found out that it's an Italian dance trio, and I said to him, like, there is nothing here that creative that AI couldn't do. And if it means that these people have to try harder or be better, then yeah, maybe that's not a bad thing. I don't know. Is that hypocritical? The fact that I consider like authentic music to be, you know, sacred and protected from AI, whereas, you know, somebody's Europop or bar fodder, you know, to be kind of, you know, fair game for rumination. I'm also going to touch back on the AI theme a bit later in the episode. But of course, now that we've reached the end of the year, for the past couple of months, you're seeing every person and their dogs best of list for 2025. It's just absolutely incredible. And the number of albums, whether people have just got 10 best albums, 150, it's just mind-boggling how much music there is out there these days. I think I saw a statistic a while ago saying that there's more music published in any single day than there was in the whole of 1974. And that's obviously got to be for good and for bad, because law of averages, if you've got a huge volume of music, some of it must be really good, and it's bad because if you can't find it, then there's just also a lot of filler and a lot of guff. So yeah, you'll be really pleased to know that I'm going to be doing a top 100 favourite albums this year and best songs. Only kidding. I find it really interesting to look through these lists because you've kind of got a familiarity bias of the bands that you've heard and the albums you've heard. And so I've tried my best to kind of branch out a bit and listen to some of the albums that missed me the first time, when they were actually released. And if I, you know, like the sound of it, I'll go and find it. And so yeah, with that familiarity bias, you know, I saw that there was a lot of Wet Leg getting props and the Wolf Alice album. It was quite interesting to see the FKA Twigs album come up in quite a lot of the lists. I was quite roundly dismissive of the performance in the Mercury Prize, the last episode. But, you know, clearly a lot of people like what she's up to. There was Hispanic artists like Rosalia and Bad Bunny. The only thing from Rosalia I heard was the Berghain single with Björk and Yves Tumor. That was just bonkers. I didn't really know what to make of it. You know, if that's cool these days, then great, I guess. Yeah. Lots of other people that turned up in the lists. Essex Honey, the Blood Orange album, I do mean to give that a listen to. The Perfume Genius album. There was one which came along quite a lot. YHWH Nailgun with their album £45. I've got no clue if it's any good or not. Bon Iver's album this year, again, really enjoyed that when I listened to it. Amari, I saw her album came up quite a lot. One which was very consistently hitting these lists was Bleeds by Wednesday, and I've got to say, if you've not heard it, just after this episode, go and listen to it straight away. It's one of the best things I've heard. Brilliant melodies, guitars, vocals, rhythm, just everything that I love. Yeah, I can't deny. Really, really great. The album by Jacob Alon, which we talked about in the Mercury episode, I did go and listen to it off the back of that, and yeah, it's really, really nice. That I really look forward to listening to it more next year. And it was quite interesting in the Guardian music album list. They referenced his Free Palestine protest, but also they said something about how if you've got a really beautiful voice like that, it would be easy to make an overly polished album, and that the producers kind of given it enough texture and enough bites and variety to it to make it really stand out. So again, props to all concerned there. The Big Thief album, that hits the top for an awful lot of the lists. I still can't get into it, I can't lie. It could be a huge failing on my behalf. I do try, and it's not like I dislike it, I'm still scratching my head. Yeah. As you mentioned, the Pulp album, everybody loved that, which was great. And one of the albums that I listened to, off the back of these lists was the Turnstile album. I can't remember the name of it. It's like Beyond Heavy or something like that. And fuck me, it's terrible, absolutely awful. People say like, oh, it's hardcore punk or pop metal. Just there was something about the drumming sound of it, the sound of the drums on there, that was just incredibly grating. It's like, wow, you've tried really hard to seek out the shittest sound possible, and yeah, I found that just beyond awful. But the main thing I want to talk about this episode, and I think basically the person and people who have won 2025, if anybody can sit back and think, yeah, I've had quite a year, it's the exorable rise of Geese and Cameron Winter in the indie sphere 2025. They've absolutely owned and nailed it, because at the start of the year I saw an article about how Cameron Winter was going to be playing in a small church in North London. He was going to be doing kind of gospel-esque numbers to promote his solo album Heavy Metal, which critics were raving about, and they were making slightly veiled references to Jeff Buckley, or comparisons I should say. And then later on in the year, when Geese released, some people say it's their third and some people say it's their fourth album, but they released the album Getting Killed. And yeah, that's again kind of has been a great driver of their growth and their rise to prominence. It's so rare that you see a band that will be on Radio 1 and on Six Music. And actually, I just like to kind of touch upon the band and the movement of the band before I talk about the music, because I find it really interesting how kind of, because they're on a very small record label. I think they're on Partisan Records, who I'd never heard of before. So they obviously don't have huge budgets, but they're really leaning in on this homegrown, authentic, word of mouth, we're doing this ourselves aesthetic. It's you can see it in, they dress like ordinary people. Their videos, they do lots of different videos for tracks, and they all kind of look as if they were made by their mates on an iPhone. Like, really well done. And they're using social media really well, in that there's lots of content on YouTube. They get people to come down and film their gigs in pubs, and they give a really good representation of what they're like live, and they clip all of their TV shows and radio performances really well, so they get the most out of the new media, either it be like YouTube or the socials. But one thing I found particularly interesting was that the end of year tube posters that they had to advertise the album was the most insanely basic poster you've ever seen. If you can imagine it, so you've got, I don't know if it's A0 or A-1 size, and it's graded blue from light to dark as you're going top to bottom, and then there's just 3 words in white relief, and it says Geese, Getting Killed, the new album. And that was it. It was that balls basic. There was no name of the record label. There was no format, and it was saying like stream it, LP, CD. We're past that now. There was no quotes from reviewers. There was no stars. There was no "we're on tour here" of this. There was basically none of the noise that you're so accustomed to. And for me, the not so subconscious message is that we're different, we're real. Come and join us, and that is undeniably cool. They are the hottest ticket in town, and so I find it really interesting how, especially in an AI age, this word of mouth band has kind of caught on and captured a lot of people's imaginations, which obviously brings us to the obvious question: is the music any good though? And this is where I go shaky hands gesture. It's a long story, or it's a complicated one. I think it's hard to start with Geese and Cameron Winter and not talk about his voice, because in the way that beauty's in the eye of the beholder, voices can be very divisive, and he has this. Well, to me, it sounds like quite a southern South American drawl to it, and I think that when he's singing, I think it's incredibly soulful. I think it's really great, and you can really feel his emotional resonance in how he's singing, and at times it can be great, but there are also times, in fact, there's a truck ton of times when he's not singing, when he's shouting, and then it's kind of noisy, as are the rest of the band. I didn't realise until I was reading these end of year articles that they're all music students, and it's like, right. So they're all doing something bonkers on each track. The time signatures are off. The tunings are just crazy all over the place. The textures, and as I say, the lyrics are kind of, I wouldn't say they're like beat poetry. It's just, there's a lot of like very almost like vivid imagery that's kind of going on, that all together, at times when it works really nice. You've got the song Cobra off the album, which is great. It's really nice. It's it's like slipping into a bubble bath. It's really great. Or you've got Cameron's solo song Love Takes Miles, which Pitchfork voted it the track of the year, which is no small accolade. And it's like, oh yeah, this is I can see what people are talking about here. But then there are other times where it sounds like basically a one-man band falling down the stairs shouting. One of the reviews said that it reminded them of Captain Beefheart at Stax Records, and it's just like, yeah, there is quite a bit of that. I would like to point that I actually went back and listened to the previous album, 3D Country, off the back of listening to Getting Killed, and actually I found that to be a lot more accessible. I found that really interesting and quite pleasant. And also another interesting thing about his album and the Getting Killed album, I don't know if it's because I'm listening to it like on YouTube or I'm listening to it online, either through my laptop or through in-ear monitors, that I find the sound incredibly fatiguing. It's not just the music, it's something about how it's being played back to me that I just find it quite exhausting to listen to, and that I can rarely get through either of the albums, and they're not actually that long. So yeah, that's quite an interesting thing. I don't know if it's different if you listen to it on vinyl or if you're hearing the music live. In regards to the live shows, as I said, I started the year playing in a small church, and he ended the year selling out back-to-back dates at Madison Square Gardens. One of them was filmed by Paul Thomas Anderson, or maybe they both were, to make a film of it. So that will be really interesting, and also it will be interesting to see where that kind of high production value sits in comparison to their homespun aesthetic. So while I can't endorse you to go and buy any of the albums, give it a listen to. If you like it, great. What I will allow you to take is a sense of optimism and maybe excitement I've got for the new year, in the way that you've got a band here that are still incredibly raw, they're still really young, they've got a lot of talent, and they could join it all up, they could hook it together and do something that, with their kind of groundswell homegrown movement behind them, could just absolutely blow the doors open of the mainstream and just take over the world. And not only that, it could then lead the path for lots of other brilliant real bands, real musicians. I'm always living in hope on the next great guitar music wave, and I'm like, shit, could it be happening? You listen to the really good guitar bands this year, like Wet Leg or Wolf Alice, Wednesday, and you're like, is something happening? I've got to also mention another album I listened to this year, which I really, really enjoyed, by a band called Just Mustard. The album's called We Were Just Here. Just wonderful, like massive sounds in the vein of My Bloody Valentine, and yeah, it gets me excited that not only are there people providing really good guitar music, but there's an audience for it, that people in the age of AI slop actually want something real and authentic and enjoyable. And so yeah, that's why I'm really excited for the rise of Geese and Cameron McIntosh, because it could just herald that there's an appetite for something proper and brilliant. So yeah, I was also going to talk about, as it's been in the news, the reissue of the Beatles anthology with the extra volume to it. It's a 4-disc. Well, it's a multi-disc set that they've reissued. They've done all the AI treatment on it, and they've upscaled the documentary series, the anthology one. They've brought out an extra episode of that. But I want to keep this episode reasonably neat and concise, and any Beatles news and opinion can wait for another time, really. A few other things I want to touch on as it's the end of the year. Film of the year, obviously One Battle After Another. It's just brilliant. If you manage to get a chance to go and see it at the big screen, really, really do that. Album cover of the year, I give it to David Byrne's Who Is the Sky. It's wonderfully bonkers, as you'd expect from David Byrne. The best video I saw goes to Richard Ashcroft. He released a 20-year-old video for Check the Meaning. It didn't come out at the time, and for me that's just one of the most crystalline, beautiful indie songwriter moments. I've got incredibly fond memories of that tune being released 20 years ago. However, also the award for creepiest music video goes to the exact same one, because there's a bit at the end of it where they've done this computer generated, almost like an angel child thing that looks like it's come straight from a PlayStation 2 game. It's so creepy. It's beyond belief. Douchebag of the year obviously goes to Quentin Tarantino. I mean, wow, what a way to kind of burnish your cultural reputation by having such an awful take, and so mean and horrid. Let that be a lesson to everybody. Be kind. Otherwise, you are trash. And my personal award for my favourite quote-unquote new album of the year. So this is something that I've got into this year, which I'd never heard before. So to me, it's new. And I very much didn't see this on my 2025 bingo card. But the album is Songs from the Big Chair by Tears for Fears. It had its 40th anniversary reissue this year, and I picked up an original copy that was dirt cheap, and I can't deny I was absolutely blown away by it. I think as a pop. I mean, pop is a weird category for it, but yeah, as an art pop sonic installation soundscape thing, it's just incredible. I think I'd heard about it in various lists that had said these are great records to test your sound system on. Their reference albums, and you just have the most brilliantly produced combination of instruments that are so sympathetic to each other. It sounds really old but also futuristic at the same time, and yeah, if you haven't heard it, it's wonderful. It's just crazy good. So yeah, 2025, brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying making these. I don't know where they're going to go or what we're going to get in the next one, but I'm just trying to get them out the door quite quickly and consistently. I think that will be the best way to find out what's good with them or not. So thank you so much. Whatever you do, if you've really enjoyed this, and if you think, oh, there's somebody who is even geekier or nerdier than me that would find this person funny, don't tell them about it. Whatever you do, don't. No. And it's not even kind of one of those, oh, he's going for the reverse psychology thing. I see what he's doing there. Yeah, smart. I like it. Don't do it. Don't you dare. I will find you. If you've been spreading about me. But yeah, most importantly, look after yourselves, look after those around you, tell your friends you love them, all the best, and we'll see you in 2026. Take care.
Bum, 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 bum. Shut up and listen to the songs.